Hey everyone, this is Horace from Rearview Safety, and we are ready to begin. Just a couple introductory notes. If you have any questions during the actual webinar itself, you can ask me those via the chat box on the left, and don't use the customer question, the audience question on top, but rather use the chat box on the left, and I will try to get to them as timely as I can. And besides for that, thank you for coming, and looking forward to going over our 360 system. And this is Season 4, Episode 1, Season 4 for our 2020 year, and hopefully many more of these to come. So, jumping right into this. The system, what's the system? A basic overview of the system. The system is for someone that essentially, as you can see over here, they want to see it all, see everything all around them, a 360 view, and they want to save it, right? As it says on top, a complete bird's eye view of the vehicle's surroundings, and we have the ECU, which is the control unit, which records all the footage. So, this is for any application, and it records the footage. You can use that for insurance purposes or for any other purposes that you would need. It all gets stored securely in that ECU. This 360 bird's eye view is accomplished via, as you can see on the left, these 4 cameras. These cameras have what's referred to as a fisheye lens, which is 190 degrees, and the way the lens is situated is that they're able to cover a large amount of a large viewpoint with just a single camera, and then the technology stitches those 4 views together, as we'll see in a couple of example slides a little bit further to present this seamless look. We have 2 options for the monitor for this 1080p Full HD monitor, a 7-inch and a 10-inch. The fourth element in regard to this system is that we have automatic triggers. So, for example, if you want to set it that when the actual view on the monitor, as I'll show you in a minute, is that you have the standard is to show the bird's eye view on the left. As you can see, you could kind of see it on the picture on the bottom right, is to show the bird's eye view on the left, and then one of the camera views on the right side. And you can set triggers to determine when that single camera view is displayed. So if you want to have let's say the front view displayed when the vehicle is in park, so then you can set that as a trigger, or to have the back view displayed when the vehicle goes into reverse. All of that can be set up within the system itself, as well as to have one view on all the time if that's what you desire. Moving onwards. So over here you can see what the screen view would look like, both a front view and a back view with the 360 system. So as I mentioned, on the left side of the screen is that bird's eye view, and you can see right now this particular vehicle is in quite a tight spot, but because it has that clear view, it's able to make its way between the cars and the obstacles on the right without any issues. And then on the front is the front view. On the right side is the front view from the front camera. And you can see that on the top right, you can see that arrow pointed up, which is indicating that it's the front camera, front camera view that's being shown. And on the left side is when this vehicle was in reverse, and then that automatically triggered the reverse camera view, and so that's the reverse camera view on the right side, and you have the corresponding right side down arrow corresponding to that rear view. As noted on the bottom, the front grid lines can be turned off if you don't want them, but the rear grid lines cannot. Those are just hardwired into the system, and those cannot be changed. But if you don't want those front grid lines, then that's an option to turn those off. To give a little bit of an external view, these are two different vehicles where we had the system installed. On the right, first I just want to draw your attention to the note on the bottom. for the best possible calibration where you have the perfect bird's eye view, you do want to have each camera installed a minimum of 6 feet from the ground. As you can see on the vehicle on the left, because it has a flat front, so it makes it easy to do. If the vehicle doesn't have a flat front, such as the school bus on the right, then you're not going to install it all the way on top, because then it'll be partially obscured by the hood. So in that scenario, even though the hood itself is below 6 feet, but we installed the front camera over there anyway, and it still worked. So best case scenario, always try to install it 6 feet above the ground, like the vehicle on the left. But if not possible, you can always install it like the vehicle on the right, and you would still have a very good 360 view. Christopher asks, do we need to manually stitch anymore? So there is still, I'm not going to go over the full extent of the calibration process now, but there is still a certain amount of manual calibration that's needed. It's not completely automated. The technology is just not there yet, but the calibration process is a lot easier, much easier than it used to be, and it can be done easier, and it's more intuitive, it's quicker. So and if you have two vehicles that are the same size, you can actually copy the calibration data from one system to the next, and you wouldn't have to do any calibration for that second vehicle. So here we have a breakdown, and so this will give you a general overview of what comes with the system. I'm not going to go over the every single thing on the list on the left, but just a few main highlights. We have our cameras over there on top, and your monitor right next to it. Each camera comes with a 20-meter extension cable to be able to run them back to the main harness, the module main harness, which connects to the footage recorder. The HDMI extension cable is used to connect the HD monitor to the footage recorder. The footage recorder is also the ECU. So what it essentially is, it's the control unit for the entire system, the brains of the system. That's where all the stitching happens, and that's where the recording happens. It all comes together in that footage recorder. The infrared extension cable is what you would use to, if the footage recorder is put out of reach of the remote, you just connect the infrared extension cable, and then you are able to power on and off the footage recorder just by it being able to reach the extension cable. The calibration kit. So if you go to the website, you can see that the calibration kit is optional, right? It's optional because, like I mentioned previously, you don't need to order a calibration kit for every single system that you get. If the cameras are installed in the same place and the vehicle is the same, so then you can just re-upload the data and then very, very quickly just automatically calibrate that system itself. Now, what the calibration does, in order to really kind of get a full idea of the calibration process, you can check out the product page on our website, and it has a video that yours truly did of the calibration process, and it's in the manual as well. But in order for the system to be able to stitch together this 360 image, it comes with mats, and these mats, they're called chess piece mats, because they have a black and white square pattern, and it's using that pattern, and by using that to compare the input image from the cameras, and so the monitor, the system is able to stitch that together and then present a 360 image on the monitor. And when we say there's either a 40 centimeter or a 20 centimeter chest piece mat, that doesn't refer to the size of the mats. The mats usually run almost the full length of the sides of the vehicle and the front and back, but what it means is the size of each square. So larger vehicles would need the 40 centimeter square size, and smaller vehicles, which we'll touch upon a little bit later, would need to order the 20 centimeter chest piece mat. And then the process would essentially be you measure the mats and you measure certain distances, which is all described in the calibration process, and you just input those measurements into the system, which can all be done via the actual monitor itself. You use the remote, the ECU remote control, and you can calibrate the system with the remote. You can input all the information. What I would suggest is there is a USB connection there, and I would suggest to use a mouse in order to make it easier. But if you don't have a mouse, then it's possible to just do the entire calibration, and we've done that at RVS, do the entire calibration with the actual remote itself. Mike asks, the calibration kit is reusable. Yes. So if you have to use it, then you can use those same mats and that same tape and tape measure and do it for a vehicle that's a different size. If the vehicle is under 23 feet, then you would need the smaller chest piece mat, the 20 centimeter chest piece mat. But as long as the vehicle is over 23 feet, then you would be able to use that same calibration kit for any other vehicle. Any other questions on the kit breakdown before I move on? As you can see, that there's two keys that come included with this. That is to be able to lock the SD card compartments. So the SD cards go into the footage recorder, and then the driver would not have access to it. Just lock it with those included keys. Christopher asks, is the 4G option available? So there isn't a 4G option available with this system standard, but you can connect it to our Mobile Mule DVRs, and then you would be able to have the 4G. This standard system, it just records the footage and saves it to the actual footage recorder. It does not have the 4G option. Troy, yeah, as I mentioned previously, I'm going to have my associate Tyler post a link, but we do have an overview video of the calibration process on our product page, and that goes over in more detail and actually shows the screen of the actual monitor as the calibration process is taking place. Okay, moving right along. So this is just to give you a little bit of a sense of where the cameras are placed. And so this is using a coach bus again, where it has the flat front, so it makes it easier to have that optimum placement of the camera itself. So the front and back cameras we always want to be centered in middle of the vehicle. The side cameras don't need to be censored. Don't need to be centered, but the front and back cameras you want to have right in middle, and then the monitor would be placed in just the optimum position of for the driver, and then that infrared extender would be used to be able to control the ECU even once it's in its final install position. Thank you. My associate Tyler just posted the video, and you can go watch that at your leisure. Here's just a top view, just to get a little bit another view of it. So all four of these cameras connect to the module main harness, and that connects back to the ECU, as well as the monitor connecting back to the ECU, and that's the main process of the actual labor-intensive part of this. It would be the installation of those cameras, running the wiring, etc. Competitive advantages and optimum applications. So the biggest advantage that we would say, and like what we see customers responding to the most, is the fact that calibration can really be done quickly. Previously, there would be you would have to do a whole matching system, and you would have to use an external computer. I just want to make a note: if you would like to use a computer to do the calibration, it does come with the system does come with a Wi-Fi antenna where you can create a local network and then complete the calibration through a computer. But it is possible and very easy to do it even without using an external computer. And as I mentioned previously, you can use one calibration kit for multiple vehicles, assuming that all things considered, they are the same. Approximate time for installation: 3 to 5 hours for the full manual labor of the cameras, monitor, and ECU. Obviously, depending on if you have a qualified, experienced installer, which we always recommend. And for the calibration, between 10 minutes to an hour for the calibration, depending on experience and the number of vehicles. If you're just re-uploading the data from a previous calibration, so obviously that's a lot quicker. If you have to lay down the mats and do the measurements and then input that into the actual system itself, obviously that'll take a little bit more time. Another thing that I want to mention as well is that we recommend doing the calibration indoors. Just from our experience, that's so in a garage or something of the sort, that's the best type of location to do it. 4 cameras for vehicles up to 50 feet long. Yes, even for long vehicles, you'll still be able to get that full surround view. That's the advantage that these wide-angle fisheye lenses have. That even with a long vehicle, you can still get that stitched together bird's eye view without adding additional cameras. Just a couple notes on what the best applications are. This is intended solely for one-piece vehicles, meaning not trailers, just in terms of how the actual calibration process works. In order to maintain that optimum image, you want to have it on a one-piece vehicle. As I mentioned before, either a flat front or a tall hood that's 6 feet tall or more is suggested for the best calibration. Some examples of that are RVs, fire trucks, coach buses. Those are all where we've had many successful installations in the past. In regard to the recording capabilities, like I mentioned, this system offers basic recording. So it records it to the SD cards, and that's basically it. We have a whole mobile mule line of DVRs where we have the G sensor, and that has alerts when we have tracking, where you can track your fleet on Google Maps. We have live viewing. All those elements are not supported yet in this system, but and so it's just kind of basically if you want to record that 360 footage, and obviously to use it as you're driving for safety reasons. And as I mentioned before, it can be used for vehicles, for smaller vehicles. We get this question a lot, but the standard calibration kit, that if you go onto our website and you select yes for the calibration kit, you will get that 40 centimeter calibration kit, that chest piece size. So you would have to custom request that 20 centimeter kit, and then we would order that for you and send that out instead of the 40 centimeter. Any questions before I move on to the next slide? Okay. Next slide. There's an add-on option that we see, that you can see on the product page, which is for a 12 sensor system. Now, so the 12 sensor system is integrated together with the 360 system, and it provides an additional element of active safety to the more, let's say, passive safety element of the 360 view. And it has 12 sensors, and as it says over here, they can be hardwired just to be on constantly or only when the vehicle is in reverse. 16 feet distance range from the front and back, 10 feet on each side, and it comes with a speaker, and so the speaker gives audio alerts which increase in volume and frequency as one gets closer to that obstacle, and also the color of the actual the visual alerts will change as the distance gets closer. It'll change from green to either orange or yellow, I'm not sure, and then to red when it's at a critical distance. So that's available as an added option for anyone that wants that kind of full premium level of total protection and security. Moving on to a couple of customer-submitted questions. We had the option for people to submit questions before, and so I'm just going to go over those questions now, and then if anyone has any questions after that, they can ask as well. Question number 1. In addition to the monitor included in the package, is there an option to view the images through an external monitor wireless on a laptop or TV maybe? This will be useful, especially when the motorhome is parked and the engine is not running. I plan to have the system always on and powered from the coach battery. So this is a question that we get fairly often as well, and you do have the option to take that HDMI cable that we have now to use for our HD monitor and run that to a different monitor. You wouldn't get that 1080p image from those cameras. That wouldn't translate to that other monitor necessarily, but you would be able to view that if you have some other monitor that is able to accept an HDMI cable. At this time, we don't support a wireless monitor. If that changes in the future, we'll be sure to let you guys know. Next question, are the camera wires rated for outdoors? I'm looking at options for running the wires in my motorhome, and one option is to run the wires under the hood. If they are not rated for outdoors, what are the options to protect the wires from extreme weather? So these particular cables are IP68 rated, which means that they're essentially dust-proof and protected from water exposure. So based on that, I would say make your decision as to what conditions you would expose them to. But that is what the rating is for those. They're IP68 rated. This question circles back to something that we mentioned previously. What is the mat size for the chessboard calibration that came standard with the camera systems at 20 centimeters or 40 centimeters? What size is needed for a motorhome? The standard size is 40 centimeters. Be advised, this is not the total mat size, rather just each individual chess piece on that calibration mat square. So each square is 40 centimeters, and this will work for vehicles over 23 feet. Everything under would need that custom size. Can we get the system and use it without the DVR? So the ECU is the brain of the system, and the DVR is part of it. So you can't not have the DVR, but what you can do, as I wrote over here, is just not insert memory cards, and then all you would have would be the 360 view on your screen. So that if you don't need to have the footage recorded and you don't want to buy the memory cards, so then you can just calibrate the whole system and just not put in memory cards and use it as a safety measure as you're driving. What is the calibration process for the system during installation? Like I said, you can check that linked video and the manual. How often does the system need recalibration? So it would not need recalibration unless the cameras are moved, obviously, and then reinstalled somewhere else. So then the parameters change, and then you would have to run the calibration again. But otherwise, it's good to go. And are there any other tools or equipment that are needed for the recalibration? Same tools that essentially nothing. You would need whatever you needed, the mats, and you can do everything else just with the screen itself. How long will you stock replacement parts for the system? I keep my vehicles for at least 7 years. I'd like to be able to get parts for at least that long. So the system, these systems do get upgrades, but the upgrades come from the same manufacturer, and we have a relationship with them, so there would be no problem getting replacement parts for this vehicle. I did confirm that with someone in our back office. Can I install your system on any vehicle, a sedan, a minivan, a cargo van? Again, yes, but these vehicles would need a smaller calibration kit. That 20 centimeter calibration mat. That's what it would be for those smaller vehicles. For those vehicles that have a backup camera, can I wire your system into that monitor? If they have an HDMI input, it could, but you would not get that same image quality that you would get with the HD monitor. Troy asks, what is the actual size of the mat? It's a great question, Troy. I actually don't have that off the top of my head. I don't have that. They are pretty long because they're meant to be used for vehicles, that are 30, 40, up to 50 feet. So I can find that out and get back to you, but I don't have that information off the top of my head. David says vehicles could be used outside, correct? Sorry, the cables could be used outside, correct? Yes. So these cables would be able to be used outside. Thank you, Scott. Scott has some experience with our systems, and so he's speaking from personal experience. Around 15 by 5, but I can verify that. I believe also that there's two separate sizes. There's a smaller one and a larger one, because there's two that are meant to be used for the front and two that are meant to be used for the sides. So I believe that the 15 by 5 one is the smaller size, and then the ones that are used for the sides are I may be wrong. Maybe we should get Scott. We should hire Scott as our resident expert. But Scott is saying that the front is about 10 by 5. To finish up these questions, if we use the DVR, can we lock in the SD cards so the driver can't tamper with them? The SD cards, as were shown in the kit breakdown, so the compartments do come with keys which can lock them securely. Your system has the capability to use 12 sensors. Can you give some examples of how you use those sensors? So, like I mentioned previously, because it adds the visual and oral alerts, so it does bring that element of active safety to the surround protection, where just sometimes people, they want to actually kind of see how close they are and hear how close they are. For Troy's question, what guidance do you provide for camera mounting an angle? The photo shows the cameras are pointing directly at the ground, and I assume that varied depending on vehicle location and vehicle type. So Troy, yes, to that. So the cameras are able to be moved in the housing themselves. They're adjustable, and so during the calibration process itself, in regard to just optimizing the calibration, you can adjust them to make sure that the mat is fully visible, and when you're looking at it, when you're looking at the viewing the cameras, and you're able to see that bird's eye view, so that quad view mode. So then you're able to adjust the cameras before you start the calibration process to make sure that it's in the optimum place. So that, in terms of our presentation here, that is the whole 9 yards that I have. So I'd like to open it up. If there are any additional questions that anyone has, now would be the time to ask. Besides for that, I would say go to our website, and there's a lot more information on that, on the system over there that goes beyond the scope of this actual presentation. There will be a recording of this webinar sent out to everyone and also posted on our YouTube channel. Any more questions, you can reach out to our customer service people at customerservice@reviewsafety.com, and or call us at 800-764-1028. Eric asked, how does the system get the overhead view of the vehicle? So in regard to like the actual science behind it, I don't have that information, but what it essentially does is it provides a simulated overhead view based upon stitching together all four wide-angle lens views, and then so it provides that simulated overhead view of the vehicle. So the cameras cover all the different angles, and then the system simulates the overhead element, but still gives you that 360 element of the actual vehicle itself. So just to be clear, you're not getting a view of, let's say, of the roof of the vehicle, but the overhead is simulated, but that 360 view is still there. It can be a dinosaur. We have not had so much of an interest in having a dinosaur image, so that's why you won't see it in this version, but maybe in later versions if we have enough of a demand for it. You can you can change the icon of the actual vehicle. You can put in any image that you feel comfortable with. The image that I showed is the image that we have in our and I believe it's the standard image that it comes with. But you can load a custom image if you would like. Right. There are a few options that come. I don't think it's just one. There's a few different options they give you, but that is changeable. BJ, is there an instruction book on how to set up the different screens and views? So there is an instruction manual. If you have any questions on the instruction manual itself, if you need any further information, our customer service team is available to answer them. But I would say use that as your first resource, and then reach out to us anytime to get any additional information. Any further questions? Thank you. Tyler just posted the link to the product. If there are no further questions, like I said, a link to this webinar will be sent out. And mostly I want to thank you all for joining and for registering and for being part of the Review Safety community. It's a pleasure having you guys together with us, and together we can make the vehicle world a safer place. So take care and all the best.